Now let's take a look at some of these outcome variables. Employee attitudes are the evaluations they make, ranging from positive to negative, from weak to strong. And these attitudes are about their jobs, the people they work with, the objects in their environment, like the computer or the printer, and even events or experiences in the workplace. I love my job, for example, is a positive attitude. My job is boring is, of course, a negative job attitude. When we experience stress, we experience a response to the demands in our environment. In many situations, stress is unpleasant. It makes us feel bad. But in other situations, stress can be a good thing. We call this type of stress eustress. For example, an upcoming exam likely causes you some stress. We often interpret that stress to be negative because most of us don't like studying for exams. But that exam is actually motivating you to learn. Without that exam, you might not put the same pressure on yourself to learn. In many ways, that exam is a positive driving force in your life. Some people think that studying things like job attitudes and stress is soft stuff, not the kind of serious work that business managers do. But attitudes and stress have a fairly strong relationship with things like productivity and performance. If we don't care about attitudes and stress, we don't understand the full picture, and therefore we cannot have the kind of effect on performance that we want to have. We now have plenty of evidence to suggest that satisfied employees are more productive than dissatisfied employees, and that satisfied employees are willing to go above and beyond the call of duty, whereas dissatisfied employees are often looking for a different job. There are many different forms of withdrawal behaviors, ranging from showing up late, to failing to attend meetings, to quitting altogether. The cost of employee turnover alone has been estimated to run in the thousands of dollars for a single position. I can tell you from my experience that placing a 2-week ad in a single newspaper can cost up to $2,000. Absenteeism also costs a significant amount of money and time. When people don't show up, their colleagues often have to fill in, or it causes a huge headache for the manager, who has to then go through a long phone list and try to find someone who can come in. Obviously, it's difficult for an organization to run smoothly if its employees don't show up for work or don't do their jobs correctly. The workflow is disrupted, important decisions may be delayed. If highly talented people leave the organization, it leaves a knowledge gap or hole that is often difficult to replace. One of the most important outcome variables considered by OB professionals is task performance, which is a combination of effectiveness and efficiency. How well are you able to do your job, the effectiveness of your effort, and are you able to do your job using the least amount of resources, time, energy, etc. We want people to be really good at their jobs, but we also want them to be able to do their jobs and not waste money, not waste time. Earlier, we talked about people going above and beyond the call of duty. Satisfied employees are more likely to do this than dissatisfied employees. We call these behaviors OCBs, organizational citizenship behaviors. Try to say that 10 times fast. These are voluntary, discretionary behaviors. They are not part of people's formal job requirements. But when people do these things, it does help the group and the organization. A good example of an organizational citizenship behavior is turning out the lights when you leave a room. As I sit here and record this lecture, I can see a sign above the light switch in my office. It says, "Please turn off lights if this room will not be used during the next 20 minutes." Now, I don't have to do that. No one is going to come around and make sure that I have shut my light off when I'm not in my office. I won't get fired for leaving my light on. It is considered an organizational citizenship behavior because if I do this thing, if I shut the lights off as requested, I save the organization money. Money that can be reinvested in the organization, hopefully reinvested in its employees. Here are some of the group and organizational level outcomes that are included in this model of OB. Group cohesion is the extent to which members of a group support and validate one another. A cohesive group is one that sticks together. People trust one another, they have common goals, they work together to achieve these goals. When employees are divided among themselves in terms of what they want to achieve, the group is usually not as cohesive. Why do we care about cohesion? Because cohesive groups tend to be more effective. They tend to produce more at a higher quality using fewer resources. For years, people have been trying to figure out how to help groups develop cohesion. People use icebreakers at the beginning of meetings or schedule social events like picnics, parties, outdoor adventure retreats in order to accomplish this. The problem is that some of these strategies don't actually work and are essentially a waste of money. This is another reason why OB is important to us. It can help us understand the difference between what works and what doesn't work. We might also look at group functioning. In the same way that positive job attitudes can be associated with higher levels of task performance, group cohesion can also lead to more positive group functioning. Group functioning, which refers to the quantity and quality of a group's output. What does the group make? What do they create? Did they make enough of it? And is it of a high quality? So what does it mean to say that a group is functioning effectively? In some organizations, an effective group is one that stays focused on a core task and does what it was contracted to do. It achieves the goals that it set out to achieve. Other organizations look for teams that can collaborate well and provide excellent customer service. Still, other groups are focused more on being creative or adapting to changing situations. At the end of the day, OB professionals are trying to have an impact on the organization's productivity. Again, we're looking at things like effectiveness and efficiency, quantity, quality. A hospital, for example, is effective when it meets the needs of its patients and when it can do so at a low cost. If we wanted to measure whether this hospital has improved its productivity, we might look, for instance, at the average number of days patients are in the hospital. If that number goes down, we have one indication at least that productivity has gone up. Of course, we would want to look at multiple variables. A business firm, on the other hand, might be effective when it reaches a certain sales or market share goal, but its productivity will also depend on the efficiency of goal achievement. Did they do it under budget, on time? We can look at things like return on investment, profit per dollar of sales, output per hour of labor. We might look at customer needs and requirements as well. All of these variables contribute to organizational survival. The likelihood that a company will be able to exist and grow over the long term in the future.